Fish Book for Kids, Diary of a Crawling Fish, Adventure Stories for Kids. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. Shaw is a fish. He is much like other fish, but he lacks one thing. He doesn't have the ability to see through walls. It bothers him, especially since his buddy Keith explains how he developed that skill himself. Shaw thinks and thinks, until he draws the conclusion that he needs to get into a life-and-death situation to make his instincts kick in. But the dangerous situations he thinks of himself aren't good enough. Perhaps something drastic needs to happen in order for him to wake up and trigger his survival senses. Chapter 1. Seeing Through Walls. Crawling, crawling, crawling. As you might know, fish crawl over the floor. And yes, I have to admit that I am not an exception. I am just like the rest. I crawl all day. I crawl over the floor. I can't stop doing it. But it doesn't matter because it's the most fun thing in the world. Have you ever tried it? I highly recommend it. My name is Shaw. I am a crawling fish. And one cool thing about fish is that they can see through walls. I couldn't, though. You have to practice your ability as a crawling fish to do that. My friends were all able to do it, and I was a little behind, which I hated. I wanted to perfect my seeing through walls skills. Wow, what a long word. How do you do it? I asked my friend, Keith the fish. It comes naturally, he said. It's like asking me how I learned how to crawl. Well, I can crawl, I said, but I still can't see through walls. How do I learn it? Okay, I don't know exactly, Keith said, but this is something I heard from other crawling fish. They say that when it's crucial, when it really matters, like a life and death situation, your instincts will take over. Then you can see through walls and use it to your advantage. Oh, great, I said sarcastically. So I have to be in a dangerous situation? I rather avoid those, actually. And it's smart to do so, Keith said. But then you might never be able to do it. What was your life and death situation? It wasn't pretty, Keith said. There was a flood, and since we live so close to the sea, it had quite the impact. But we can swim, so why was it dangerous? I asked. The water itself wasn't a problem, but the current was too strong. I was in an old deserted building when it happened, kind of like where we are now. The flood came. It washed away so many things in the village. It was a complete disaster. The people were scared. They hid in the top of the mountains. I literally witnessed mothers carrying their babies and fathers carrying possessions up the hills. They knew it was coming, and they knew they were going to lose their homes. That must have been terrible for them. It was, Keith said. But neither of us liked the humans anyway, so I wasn't distraught. I was more worried about our fellow fish. Makes sense, I said. So when the tide came in, it destroyed many buildings and homes, including the place I was living at. Did it collapse? Yes, it did, and that's why it was so dangerous. I was trapped in a building with no exits, and even though I can breathe underwater and swimming is no problem, the walls were coming down. The debris was everywhere. It was almost choking me. And when a heavy beam came down, even underwater, it was difficult to avoid it. I swam as fast as I could, evading the falling object of doom. It was scary. And that's when you got your ability to see through walls? Exactly. I didn't see a way out, so I thought I would die. But then, all of a sudden, I saw all these glimpses of objects behind the walls. They were falling down through the deep in a certain pattern, and because of that pattern, I could predict which block would shatter the wall in front of me, or at least break it enough to make it open up, and it did. I was able to predict and find my way out of there. Once there was an opening, I used my super instinct to quickly escape the perilous building and make my way to the surface. Wow, that's quite the story, Keith. Do you think I should risk my life and put my life in danger? It's up to you. I would rather live than have the chance of dying, even if I got new skills from it. But it's your choice. I understand that you're frustrated about it. I think I'll look for dangerous situations or locations, I said. But then I will play it safe enough so that the risk is low. Suit yourself, Keith said. Don't say I didn't warn you. Chapter 2. Crawling to my destination. I was full of ideas. I knew what to do. I was going to get myself into perilous circumstances and get away with it. If only I could calculate the risk, or fool my body to make it appear dangerous when it was perfectly safe, I could probably develop my senses to the point where I could see through walls, something that typifies fish. My first idea wouldn't be my last because, well, I won't spoil it yet. Just listen to the story and then you'll understand why. I crawled to my first destination, a cliff. It was a high cliff on the edge of town that few fish knew about. I had followed some of the villagers in the past up there, and I knew they just went up there to enjoy the view. Crawling fish never went there, but I was a bit more adventurous. I crawled and crawled. Just in case you're wondering, it takes quite a long time to crawl all the way up to a viewpoint on a cliff, especially for a fish. It made me tired, but I kept going. I was going to master that hidden skill, that hidden talent I desired to have so badly. When I arrived, I looked at the immense sea and the horizon. I wondered how big it really was. I had seen people go there, but I never went up there myself. When I looked down, the beauty was gone. It was scary. Whoa, that's high, I said, stepping back to be far enough away from the edge. I was shaking with fear, so I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Then I opened them again and crawled forward, but not too much. I looked again. I looked straight down. Wow, I said. I would probably die if I fell down here. However, it was completely safe, as long as I wouldn't jump down or anything. And perhaps that's why I didn't get that skill, that survival instinct. I secretly knew it was safe. If someone would have asked me if I felt in danger, I would have said no. The truth was that I wasn't in danger. I didn't feel that adrenaline rush I probably should feel. I waited and waited. I looked up and down, trying to imagine myself falling down the cliff and hitting the water. It didn't do enough. Superpowers of seeing through walls, come to me, I shouted, as if I could order nature to endow me with such gifts. Nothing. The wind wasn't even strong, but I didn't think it would have made a difference if it were. Disappointed that it was futile, I turned around and crawled back. Yes, the danger was there. I could have fallen off that cliff, but since there was nothing motivating me to do so, and since I had a choice in it, my power didn't come to me. I went home and tested it. Nope. I was still unable to see through walls. Let's go to Plan B, I said. That's what I would do the next day. Chapter 3. More crawling and swimming. It was dark. I was stuck in some ancient ruins outside of town. Giant exploding zombies were coming at me. Exploding zombies? Yes, you read that correctly. They were exploding zombies. Youch! They noticed me. They came running at me and trying to explode in my face. They missed. Boom! I heard the sound behind me, far in the distance. Was I dead? Did I just go through the wall? I found myself on the other side of the wall. And even though it was still dark inside, I was able to see through the wall and even jump through the walls. This is great, I thought. I can do this all day. Then I saw another exploding zombie that hadn't exploded yet. It was right next to me. Where was I going to go? I was exhausted, and I didn't see a way to escape in time. The exploding zombie was flickering. It was going to explode in my face. No! I yelled. Then I woke up. Ugh, what happened? My head hurt. I looked around me and saw the deserted building I had been sleeping in for the past few weeks. It was all just a dream. The exploding zombies, even the ability to see or jump through walls was unreal. I just had a nightmare. Time to learn that skill, I said. Too bad that I didn't acquire it in my dream. Obviously, that doesn't work either. I crawled to the one place I knew I would find some serious danger, the sea. And this time I wouldn't just go near it, I would go into it. As I crawled to the seaside, I couldn't help but notice a few fishermen who were floating on a boat in the middle of it. I knew I should avoid them too, so with all the strength I had, I crawled faster and jumped into the water. Ah, nice and cool. This salty water is refreshing, I thought. Now let's see if I can get myself into some real danger here. I swam around for several minutes and saw all the beautiful fish in the water. They looked at me in a weird way. I figured that they didn't see many fish in the sea. I stood out, which I didn't mind, until a vicious shark saw me. Uh-oh, I thought. Standing out isn't good if you stand out to predators like that. Let's get out of here. But it was already too late. The shark was determined to eat me. He swam at me with great speed. It was an intense chase. I swam around rocks, around maritime plants, and around shoals of fish, but every time I hid, he found me again. At a certain point, I was hiding under an anemone. I could sense the shark swimming in circles, hoping to find me and devour me as his prey. I stayed put. This is it, I thought. I am in real danger. Perhaps I will be able to see through walls now. I tried to feel something, but I didn't feel much different. I looked around me, but nothing had changed, so when the shark wasn't looking in my direction, I swam away. Phew, I said. That was close, but apparently not close enough. I still didn't get my superpower of seeing through walls. What is it going to take to get it? Ugh. And then it happened. I was helpless because I got caught in a fisherman's net, the same fisherman I had seen from the coast floating on the water in his little boat. I was captured. Oh no! Chapter 4. Caught by the Humans. The net had little holes in it, but they were so tiny that it was impossible for me to escape. The fishermen pulled up the net and threw me into their boat. I was still stuck, or else I would have just jumped out. They looked at me. There were two of them. One of the men had a large mustache and a hat. The other one, who looked a bit more submissive and lower class, was a young guy who was slouching and staring into the distance. "Get that other net up here," the man with the mustache ordered. "Oh, okay. Sorry, sir." "How many times have I told you to just call me Jack? Just because you're my nephew doesn't mean you have to say sir. Just take it easy." "Oh, okay, Jack." The younger guy seemed to be a total pushover. He was clumsy, too, which may have been one of the reasons why Jack, the mustache man with the hat, figuratively walked all over him. "Pull, pull," Jack yelled. "Come on, Victor, do as I say." "I'm trying, Jack, I'm trying." The other net came in. It was full of fish. Regular fish, not fish. I was the only fish they had caught, and they hadn't even noticed me. Jack decided to take a look at the fish. As they were all wiggling in the dry boat, something they wouldn't be able to survive in for long, I tried to hide by crawling under one of the fish. Suddenly, Jack lifted several fish and saw me. "Aha!" he said. "A fish! Those are rare. We can get a fortune for this one. Put it in that box, Victor." "Yes, sir." "Victor, what did I tell you about the sir thing?" Just call me Jack. Don't let me repeat myself. Oh, why do I have such a stupid nephew?" Victor was about to answer when he realized it was more like a rhetorical question to nobody in particular, an expression of frustration by his big, grouchy uncle. Jack took a long, hard look at me and Victor came closer to put me into the box. But exactly at that moment, I jumped. I felt the rush. Perhaps this was it, the moment that I felt my life was in danger. As I flew through the air, I felt the wind in my face. I almost hit the water. I was almost able to swim away peacefully from these two men. "Gotcha," Jack said, as he caught me right before I hit the water. "Nice," Victor said. "Sorry that I let him go." "You should be more careful next time," Jack said. "The fish almost escaped. Now let's go home. We have enough fish, and we have a very valuable species to sell." "Okay, Jack." "See, now you're getting it." I was stuck again, but this time in a box, a wooden box that was nailed shut. There was no way for me to escape. Chapter 5. Arrived. I felt the boat move. They were rowing back to the seaport. Well, actually, I think that only Victor rowed back to the port and that Jack was leaning backwards and watching him work his muscles. What an arrogant jerk, that Jack. I felt the waves becoming weaker. We arrived at the docks, and after a while, I felt that they were lifting up the wooden box in which I was hid. I felt that they were lifting up the wooden box in which I was held. Thud! They put me down. I lay down there, all alone, in a box, and none of the other fish knew where I was. I felt lonely and desperate, and when I heard the two men walk away, I felt deserted, even though they were the ones who caught me. Perhaps this will be the time I can see through walls, I thought. It would certainly come in handy at this time. Just imagine it. I would be able to see through the box and know exactly what or whom to use for my escape. But nobody came. The whole afternoon I was trapped in a box, surrounded by fish. Some of them stunk, that died. But I wasn't going to die. I had all the time in the world. And although that would have been nice under different circumstances, it was incredibly boring at that moment. The whole afternoon, nothing. Time elapsed and I was still there. My superpower to look through walls was not coming to me yet. I began to think that I would probably never develop it. I fell asleep. I was sound asleep, and my thoughts went to nowhere. It was empty, 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 empty. Hey, what was that? A glimmer in the distance. It came closer. I saw what it was. The eyes of a cougar. The light demerged and split up into two. Its eyes were fierce and intrinsic, approaching me as a mountain monster with the intention to feed its appetites. "Stay away!" I yelled. "Don't come any closer!" It was useless. Slowly but certainly, the cougar walked towards the box and opened it up. When it was about to eat me, I woke up. "No!" I yelled. Oh, just another nightmare. I heard footsteps. Was it the cougar? I found a crack and looked through it. It was Jack, who had come back with another gentleman. "Show me the fish," the man said. "I would, but it's eager to jump out. Perhaps it would be better if you looked through the crack in there." "Sure," the gentleman agreed. He held a light against the box and shone it into my eyes. He squatted, peeked through the crack in the box, and then stood up again. "Looks all right," he said. "How much do you want for it?" "What are you going to do with it?" Jack asked. "Sell it, of course, and what the customer does with it is not my concern." "That sounds good," Jack said. "The price will be—" But before he could finish his sentence, they heard a sound. "Huh? What was that?" Jack asked. Chapter 6. The Enemy of My Enemy. I had heard the sound that had startled them as well. It was a growling sound. Could it be? I thought. Is there really a cougar here? But what about the dream? Was it real, or did I just sense that something would happen in the future? I didn't know at the time, but one thing I did know, Jack and the other gentleman were terrified. Another sound from the feared predator. I kept peeking through the cracks, hoping to catch a glimpse from the unfolding scene. And there it was. A cougar jumped onto the pavement after hiding behind the many boxes in the harbor. It looked straight at the two men. "Wah!" the two men shouted, and they ran away as fast as they could. The cougar pursued them. I couldn't see much, but I heard its lightning-quick steps on the street. I was scared and relieved at the same time. At least the cougar went after the men, not after me. But I wasn't happy. I was still anxious, so with all my might, I started banging against the sides of the box. I didn't feel safe there, so I was eager to get out of that constraining box. Buff! The side of the box fell down, and the box opened up. I got out and looked around me, feeling free and happy to crawl again. I crawled and crawled. I crawled a lot, until I reached the crates on the other side. I guess I didn't feel that this was an emergency, even though I was somewhat tensed, but I was still afraid. Rightly so. Apparently, the cougar had become tired of chasing these quick men, and was now looking around for something easier to eat. Fish. I hoped it would just indulge in the fish that were in the crates. There were plenty of those. Crates with dozens of dead fish stacked together, causing a certain smell in the area to appear. But it wasn't satisfied with those. I was shaking with fear. And as I didn't even reflect on the fact that I saw the cougar, although it was on the other side of the crates. I saw it move. I knew exactly where it was going. While keeping an eye on it, I envisioned the dozens of crates in front of me, finding my way through it before I actually left my spot. I crawled through the crates with purpose. I saw every exit and every crate. Wait a minute, I thought. Am I seeing through walls? I can certainly look through the crates. My survival instincts were kicking in. I crawled left and right to avoid the said predator, hoping that it wouldn't see me. I could pinpoint where the cougar was, and navigate my way through this maze of crates, boxes, and containers in the giant harbor. I was doing it. This was so exciting. In my exuberance, I almost forgot about the cougar. I looked around. Hey, where did it go? I thought it was on the other side. Huh? Where did it go? I thought it was... Suddenly, I heard a sound behind me. I turned around and looked into the eyes of the dangerous cougar that was looking for a special fish to devour. Me! It showed its sharp teeth and drooled a little. What was I going to do? Seeing through walls or crates wouldn't help me now. Chapter 7. Calling for Help. As I looked into the eyes of the cougar in front of me, an even stronger fear came over me, and my deepest, most innate survival instincts kicked in. They kicked in hard. I did the only thing I could do, something that is typical for fish as well. I opened my mouth and yelled, "Fish, come help me, now!" To this day, I still don't understand how it happened. But within seconds, dozens of fish appeared in the very harbor I was crawling in. They came out of nowhere. The cougar got startled. It didn't know where to look or which fish to attack first. It was confused, and certainly it was freaked out by all these magical fish emerging out of thin air. "Attack!" I commanded, as if I was leading an army. Some of the fish jumped onto the cougar and began to nibble at its skin. The cougar growled in agony. Then more fish jumped on him and did likewise. It became a nibbling feast, a sudden turnaround from being the hunted to becoming the hunters. The cougar ran around in circles, attempting to shake off the gnawing fish. Some of them flew through the air and jumped back on the cougar. Others stayed and held on tightly. After some time, the perilous predator couldn't take it any more and jumped into the water. The fish let go. They disappeared by dispersing into different directions, but the cougar was more afraid than ever before. It took a while for this feline to get out of the water. It made sense, since cats always hate the water anyway. We were victorious. We had defeated the cougar. As the fish all went their ways, I saw one of them coming at me. It was Keith. "Keith," I said, "I am glad to see you. How did you know where to find me?"
"I don't know, Shaw," he said. "Fish just teleport out of nowhere if you call them over. Your call for help was a smart one. You would have never been able to chase that cougar away on your own."
"It was pure instinct," I said. "I didn't even know what I was doing."
"Typical. It sounds like you have started to become an actual fish. You didn't know you could do it, and you did it anyway. Which makes me wonder, did you ever develop that ability to see through walls?"
"Yes, I did, and it's awesome."
"Prove it," he said. "Tell me what is on the other side of those containers over there."
"It looks like a man. Hey, that's Victor. What is he doing?"
"I think he is happier than ever before," Keith said. "Maybe he just got released from his job, or left someone he didn't like. That's the kind of look he has on his face. I recognize it."
"Ha ha! That's probably it, Keith. Come, let's go home." The end. This has been Fish Book for Kids, Diary of a Crawling Fish, Adventure Stories for Kids, written by Jeff Child, narrated by John H. Feskins. Copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. Production copyright 2017 by Jeff Child.